and followers about, and the Illuminati. Can you touch on that? The small percentage of the people who control the world?
Well, one of the things that, is a head shaker to me, and I smile to myself these days, is over the years, people have told me, authority is trying to tell me even more now, that I'm wrong. And because I'm wrong, I can't say what I'm saying and write what I'm writing. And then they prove me bloody right. I said back in the 90s when I was producing the first books that there was a plan for the world. And that plan included the destruction of freedom of speech and the creation of a centrally controlled global fascist, communist, Marxist, whatever you want to call it, state. They're all different terms for the same tyranny. That this included microchipping the population. Don't even start me on that. It's way along the line already. And that money would be taken out of circulation, so only cashless digital money would be used, which has fundamental implications for freedom and control. And a stream of other things which have all come true. And the reason I could do that is very simple. How did Aldous Huxley, in 1932, in his book Brave New World, how was he able to describe genetic, drug, and other things that in a dystopian way that is now happening? How could George Orwell be so accurate in 1948? What about the other people that I quote in my books, insiders way back, who were saying this is what's going to happen because this is the plan? And it's all happening in detail, not even theme, detail, because there is a plan, there is a script. And what I've done for the last 30 years is work to uncover what that is. And once you know what's planned, predicting the future is quite straightforward. That's why so many, I see my books from the 1990s read on the TV news every day now, in changes in society. It's because I have this phrase, know the outcome and you'll see the journey. If you don't know what the outcome is planned to be, then what happens in the world, in world events and daily happenings, appear to be random. They seem to have no pattern. They seem to have no rhyme and reason. They just happen. Or you blame them on something else. When you know what the outcome is planned to be, which is what I've been uncovering all these years, then you start to see that these apparently random events are not random at all. They are stepping stones towards the outcome. We talk about freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is being systematically destroyed. And I'll give you the outcome on that. The outcome, desired outcome, is that there comes a point which we're moving towards so fast when no one will ever see or hear anything that is not acceptable to the authorities, to the system. And we are seeing now daily freedom of speech and censorship being increased and increased and increased towards that desired outcome of deleting all information that the authorities don't want people to see. Now, what's been happening? The internet was actually created by this cabal. We can talk about that if you like, about why that was and where it's going. But one of the reasons is that they wanted to put all information eventually that people receive and where they get their information, thus their perceptions, which come from information received, that's what perceptions are, from the internet, digitally. And the reason they want to do that is because once it's digital, then you can use algorithms to censor. You don't even need human input. Once the codes are in place, the algorithms, as they're doing now, will censor what people can see and hear. Now, what is freedom of speech? It's the freedom to speak. And if you have the freedom to speak, then you have the ability to challenge the prevailing narrative, and thus you're never in a situation where people only see and hear what the authorities want them to see and hear. For that to be reached, that situation, free speech has to be deleted. Otherwise, they're not going to get there. That's why free speech is being deleted. And George Orwell had this concept of freedom, in effect, being the ability to say that 2 and 2 equals 4. Because while you have the right to say 2 and 2 equals 4, you have the right to freedom of speech. You have the right to speak factually and not be censored, even though you're speaking fact, but they're wrong facts from the authorities' point of view. And in 1984, in the book, society moved to a point where they were told they had to believe that 2 and 2 equaled 5. And you couldn't say 2 and 2 equaled 4 anymore. You had to believe that 2 and 2 equaled 5, because that's what the authority wanted you to believe, so they got the outcome that they wanted. And what happens is that initially, and we're in that point now, when you're being pressured to believe 2 and 2 equals 5 and to say it and not contradict it, there is a resistance which says, well, it's a load of bloody nonsense. 2 and 2 doesn't equal 5. But when you then start giving people consequences for not accepting 2 and 2 equals 5, abuse, losing your job, all the rest of it, marginalization, people then start, in search of self-respect, they don't want to accept that what they're doing is being kowtowed into saying 2 and 2 equals 5 when they know it's 4. So they start to convince themselves 2 and 2 equals 5. So it becomes not their enforced reality eventually, it becomes their perceived reality. And suddenly the world's gone frickin' mad. And that is absolutely the process that's happening now. What level of madness, mate, have we reached when professors of biology are being investigated by their universities and abused by students for saying that men and women are biologically different? Men and women are biologically different, okay? Men and women are biologically different. Another way of putting it, 2 and 2 equals 4. But the so-called progressive, they're not at all, the fascistic, Marxist, whichever term you want to use, progressive, narcissistic stormtroopers of political correctness, Twitter stormtroopers, are insisting that you believe 2 and 2 equals 5. And it's a very simple thing. If you want something to happen, which, if you had an open debate, you couldn't win it, and therefore it couldn't happen, you simply don't have the debate. And, I have a phrase, if you want to know and see the foundation elements of this agenda of human mass control, look at the subjects you cannot have another opinion about. Look at the subjects where if you have a different opinion to the official narrative, you're going to get abuse, ridicule, and other consequences. That's the agenda.
To shut you up.
Simply for this reason. If you can't win a debate on facts, and of course, men and women are not biologically different, it's not a debate you can win on facts, then you don't have the debate. You shout down, abuse people who have that. And we were talking beforehand. I posted something on my website today, which I saw this morning, where there's a meeting at a university in America, and there's speakers there. A woman she didn't stand up, she was sitting down, but a woman spoke, one of the speakers, who was kind of an academic in her field. And she said, well, it's obviously that there are biological differences between men and women, because if you look at the facts, FACTS, I think that's spelt, people will forget that soon, then the vast majority of men are taller than women. Women have different have fat in different places. They have different muscular types. People in the audience started walking out. She's just saying the bloody obvious, and they're walking out. Why? She's saying 2 and 2 equals 4. They believe 2 and 2 equals 5, and they insist everyone else does. Cameraman follows them out, and they're out in the lobby saying that's fascist. We can't sit and listen to that fascism. What? That men and women are biologically different? This is where we are going. And this is why it's so important that people are not intimidated into silence. Because I meet so many people who say, yeah, it's a load of nonsense, but, look what happens if you say so. And one of my roles, if you like, is of being the kid pointing at the naked emperor while everyone's sycophantically hovering around saying, wonderful new clothes, emperor. Oh, what a lovely jacket. And I'm saying, hold on a minute. The guy's freaking naked. Got no bloody clothes on. What are you talking about? And that, of course, is 2 and 2 equals 4.
Do you think people are too scared now to speak out?
Oh, they are. And it's systematic. It's being done systematically
Condition people.
To shut people up. What is political correctness? I'll give it in a line. It's manipulating the target population to silence itself. That's what it is.
In false flag events, David, you've blew the whistle on a couple of them. What is a false flag event for people who don't know?
Well, one of the phrases I came up with that has now come into quite common parlance in the alternative media anyway, I came up with it in the 1990s, was problem, reaction, solution. This is so important. There's 2 mass manipulation techniques, because this is the bottom line. This conspiracy is a conspiracy to psychologically program the population. Why do people behave the way they do? Why does someone behave that way and someone behave that way?